away from Mexico's Baja California Peninsula. America is listening to Fox News.
From around the world, Trey Yingst, joining us from Tel Aviv, Israel. To Washington. I'm Mike Emanuel. To your own backyard. If a story impacts you or your wallet, we're on it. It's the Fox News Rundown. We give every story the deeper look it deserves with must-listen interviews and smart analysis from the voices you can trust. Start your day with the Fox News Rundown. Listen and follow now at foxnewsrundown.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey, this is Trey Gowdy, host of the Trey Gowdy Podcast. Every Tuesday, you'll hear what's on my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening to Fox News.
This is Downtown Dave. How would you like to be able to promote yourself, your business, or someone else's business for less than the cost of one 60-second commercial on many Tampa Bay radio stations? Here's the deal. You can have your own 1-hour radio program on the Tan Talk Network for less than the cost of one 60-second announcement on many Tampa Bay stations. Your program will be on 2 Tampa Bay radio stations and will cover 4 million people in Florida, plus worldwide on the internet in both audio and video. And you'll have a web link for your business on the Tan Talk 1340 website. We provide the producer, the state-of-the-art equipment, free production of commercials, and much more. Check it out today. Call Lola O'Brien, the Irish Hawaiian, at 727-510-7622. That's 510-7622. Call Lola O'Brien now, 727-510-7622. Call now and your 1-hour radio program can start tomorrow. Call 510-7622 for Lola O'Brien, the Irish Hawaiian, at the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Thinking about starting your own business? Then you need to listen to the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. There's nothing more rewarding than starting your own business. Gene will bring you tips and advice from themselves and other entrepreneurs that will help you get started. Have you already started your own business? Then call in and share your story to help other entrepreneurs. That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour, Wednesdays from 6 to 7 right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you looking for a job? Join me, Gene Hodge, on the Employment Opportunity Hour from 7 to 8 p.m., where I will tell you and share with you, as well as answer all of your questions and help you find enjoyable employment instead of a job. This is the only talk show that talks about everyone who makes up our workforce. Join me on the Employment Opportunity Hour from 7 to 8 p.m. on the Employment Opportunity Hour.
That's the Employment Opportunity Hour, Wednesday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey everyone, it is Brandy Joy with the Brandy Joy Joyride. Feel free to hop in and have a good time with us every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. This show is brought to you by One Unit, dedicated to bringing people together, letting your voices be heard, and of course we're here to entertain you, upbuild you, inspire you, and even hear from you. So every Thursday, tune in to 106.1 FM, Brandy Joy Joyride, and we will hear from you and let's have some fun.
Hi, this is Paul Malloy, host of Freedom Works, The Paul Malloy Show. I hope you'll join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, here on the Tan Talk Radio Network, where we strive to bring you the libertarian perspective on political events of the day. There's no show quite like Freedom Works, with in-depth interviews, our ultimate top 10 list, and so much more. So join us for Freedom Works, The Paul Malloy Show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hello, hello. It says I'm on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
If you can hear me, nod. Are you nodding? Hi, I'm Randal Jenkins. This is the Randal Jenkins Real Estate Hour. And I got Eric Jenkins of Keller Williams on the line with me. Eric, can you say hello?
Hello, Eric.
Very good. So today we are doing this over Zoom. Last Wednesday after the show, it ended. And the next morning I had hip surgery and had a new hip installed. And I haven't gone out much in the last 7 days. So in our effort or desire to be able to come back to you this week, we are doing this over Zoom.
Wow.
And I wish I could tell you I could see myself, but I can't. So I'm assuming that we are on the radio. My engineer said you're on, so I'm going to believe him. Am I on?
Yes.
Yes, we have a yes. Okay, so part of our content is that we're going through the various real estate tips that can be found on my YouTube channel called Randal Jenkins Real Estate. And on that YouTube channel, I have a number of videos that include various real estate tips. This week, we're going to do 26 real estate tips. And these aren't in any particular order. It allows us to jump around and give you various content. And let's just face it, you don't know what you don't know. And it's better to find out through having a real estate advocate than find out by making mistakes. And this is going to give us an opportunity to talk about a lot of the challenges that we see in real estate. Now, the first one, in no particular order, is number 1. And that one's called never counter in writing.
Good one.
You like that one?
Yeah.
You want to talk about why wouldn't I counter in writing?
Well, when and if you do that, that means you have a realtor that's still learning at your expense. Because when you counter in writing, the seller no longer controls the property. Now the buyer controls, and they've got 48 hours, unless you make it clear that they don't, to counter the counter or accept. So if another offer comes up, you can't accept it because you're obligated to the people that may or may not continue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Number 2, use a local realtor. If you're a buyer, you should use a local realtor. Are you aware of where the sewage treatment facilities are? Do you know which way the wind is blowing? How close are you to the dump? Which way is the wind blowing? What is the county's 10-year plan for the area? What are the traffic and access issues? How can you count on a realtor that doesn't know the local area issues? Now, if you're selling, Eric,
Then you local or better?
there you go.
What do you want? Local or better?
The idea is that if you've got a selling machine, you don't need to know the local issues. If you're working with the listing agent, then maybe you had better consider that. But in terms of using a local realtor to purchase a home, you really need to consider the value of having somebody that knows the area. All right, let's talk about pictures on your listing. Did you get unmuted? Are you muted?
No.
Oh, good. I saw your lips move and didn't hear anything.
I was just thinking about a case I just had on that.
Please share.
Well, I have a lady that's going to list with me tomorrow, the next day, and she has a pool, and she has 48 pictures, and the 38th picture was the
Cool.
pool. Yeah, I said a lot of people might have already moved on to another house after 5 or 7 pictures.
Are your buyers going to be lured into viewing the home and be disappointed that the pictures are great and the home is not? You don't want buyers leaving the home feeling disappointed or misled. And there's even some discussion about how that might be kind of an ethical violation. You've got a great camera, you take unbelievable pictures, you lure people in to look at the property, and then they get there and they're like, this is a dump. Then they all want to know, what kind of camera was that? But that's not the result you want. You really have 3 possible scenarios. They can say, wow, this house looks like the pictures. Or ideally, they say, wow, look at this house. This is really good. Well, they're probably not going to say that if your pictures are, let's say, terrific. I mean, it might be a little bit manipulative to say, let's take lousy pictures so that when they come in, they're going to love the house. But it isn't a bad thing when they come in there and they say, this house is really nice, as opposed to them coming in and saying, this house is a dump, and we are upset that we came to view it because your pictures were deceptive. But there is a challenge, and that's what we call swipe right. And anyone who's been on a dating application, they know what swipe right is. It's you see a picture, you don't like it, swipe right. You see a picture, swipe right. You see a picture, swipe right. And that's what happens when buyers are looking at homes. They're swiping right, and they are not focused on the home if they lose interest pretty quickly. Keep going or go to number 4?
Keep going. I love it.
Okay. FHA loans are assumable. This is a big deal because a lot of people locked in rates when rates were really low. If you have a 2.5% mortgage and a buyer is willing and able to assume that mortgage, this could be a giant opportunity for a buyer to lock in a rate that they couldn't otherwise get. But there's some negatives, and I don't mean negatives for the buyer or the seller. The negatives are for the mortgage broker not getting able to make a refinancing commission. And the other challenge is that if somebody bought a home 5-6 years ago and they've got $100,000 in equity, well, they're going to want their equity. And if it's an FHA buyer or someone who's getting a government mortgage that qualifies for a government mortgage, it's likely that they're doing that kind of mortgage because they don't have the down payment. They don't have the money to put 20% down to avoid the PMI or put 20% down to get a better rate. But if you are qualified for a FHA loan and you have $100,000, then you're a buyer that is not normal. You're a buyer that has an opportunity to maybe take over one of those mortgages if you can afford to buy the equity from the seller. And the question becomes, go ahead.
Have you ever done one of those?
I have not. It's counter, and it's probably a terrific opportunity. I mean, maybe what are the chances that you can find an FHA buyer that's got enough money to buy the equity?
And it's the right house.
And did the listing agent counsel the seller to consider this as an option? I mean, who's putting down assumable when there's $100,000 in equity that has to be bought out by the buyer, and the buyer has to be able to qualify FHA?
You know why you've done none of them?
Because there's just not very many buyers that look like that.
Right, and I've done none of those.
I think that what it boils down to is maybe doing a better job when you are
a listing agent.
Listing the property, exactly. Because when you're listing the property and you see you've got a 2.5% mortgage, let's see if we can sell the mortgage, because the value, I mean, I'm not going to do it right now, but what's the present value of a stream of payments at 2.5% versus the present value of a stream of payments at 6.5%? It's enormous.
Large.
You could have instead of going in with a $2,500 or $3,000 payment, you could go in there with a $1,500 payment.
Oh,
of course, it is going to cost you $100,000 out of pocket to buy that equity.
Yeah.
That might be a good way to get listings because nobody's talking about it.
No. I've never heard anyone talk about it, ever. I've never even heard of this. I mean, it's very insightful, Randy. You get a point for that one.
Number 5, calling the county. So realtors are not experts in much, but they know a little bit about a lot of things. So when you call that realtor and say, can I put a ADU on there? They don't know. So what do? well, let's call the county. But a newer agent will fall into the trap of calling the county and then relaying the information to whoever it is that they represent. And that's a really big problem. Do you ever call the county, Eric?
Yeah, all the time.
And you relay the information to the other party, to your customer?
I mean, I get them to email me with their title, and then I forward the email to the client, or I do it on a conference call, or I make the client call them.
Exactly. But if you're an agent, because I got a lot of agents that we coach, and if you're an agent and you're calling the county and then you're relaying that information to your buyer or seller, stop. This is very dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. You do not want to be, well, Randy said I could do that.
Do that.
Bad decision making. But it's not, because you don't know what happens. And I love the county. I love my county, the tax assessor, the property appraiser, zoning, permitting. They all give out real estate information. But you don't know who's answering the phone in that department on that day. It could be that there's a newer person who answers the question based on a particular situation, but it doesn't really cover your situation. And there's story after story of people who have gone who have gotten information, relied on the information, and then later when they went to implement their strategy, they found out, well, that's not true. Well, I called somebody a few months ago and that's what they said. So how do you handle it?
You let them call the county.
And using email will give you it in writing. And they are still not obligated to honor what they told you in email. I mean, you've got a great argument. I did this, I relied on this information, but still, if, for example, story. I was selling a lot, and it was clear to me that the county was giving out erroneous information. And how do you tell a party to the contract that the county is wrong? And I was stumped. And then I realized, I said, I just got lucky. And I said, do you have a builder? Said, yeah, I do. I said, look, do me a favor. Call the builder and ask the question. And they did. And the builder explained it and that the county was wrong. And it was a little minor thing, but it was, they were going to walk. They weren't going to do the transaction. And ultimately, I did sell it. And if you're my buyer of that lot years ago on Fred, this is our story.
I got a story.
We love stories.
I had a lady that listed a 9.7 acre property on Hillsborough River. And we had some buyers that were interested in it. And one of them said, can I build on? I said, you have to call the county. And he said, well, what number do I call? And I was like, I'll pull it right up. I got it right here. The county is Pasco County. And here's so I gave him the number and he called them and he said, well, they said I had to call someone else at the county. So we'll call them. And he called them. And then they said, well, we got to do a thing. I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, we have to call another county part. I said, who's that? He said, that's a setbacks. I said, okay, well, what'd they say? He said, well, they're calling me back. And then he called me back. He said, I can't build on it. I said, why? He goes, the setbacks are not far enough back. I said, oh, okay. So the county sent him an email. He sent it to me. I sent it to the seller. I said, we need to regroup. And we took the property off the market. And then we relisted it for $200,000 less. And we sold it for $100,000 instead of $300,000 because you cannot build on it. And the buyer knew it. That's them calling me right now.
Nice.
That's my story.
All right. Let's go to number 6, listing mistakes. And this could be its own hour-long show. Selling your home mistakes, overpricing mistakes, overpricing and then lowering it too slowly, bad words in real estate. professional pictures that mask a home's true condition. Buyer to verify, which if you watched last week's show, you know that's me talking about listing malpractice. In my opinion, it's malpractice. Pricing the home based on value versus based on competition. Let's talk about it in depth. Visibility mistakes. Treating the MLS remarks like a brochure instead of like a search engine. And this is giant. Beautiful 3-bedroom home with an open floor plan and lots of upgrades. The problem? Buyers aren't searching for beautiful. They're searching for pool, waterfront, mother-in-law suite, RV parking, golf course, new roof, impact windows, no HOA, workshop, first floor primary suite. If these items aren't in the remarks, many portals may not surface the property for those searches. FHA, hey, VA, you have to treat the listing like a search engine opportunity as opposed to putting the public remarks as a description. All right, leaving MLS fields blank. Really, really not a good idea. Poor photo strategy. Dark photos, too few photos, wrong photo order, no lifestyle photos, leading with a garage or side yard. Okay, we talked about swipe right, and I'm very opinionated about how the picture should be. Some people will start with the picture of the front of the house, and then another picture of them walking up to the front door, and then the picture of the front door, and then they open the front door, and there's a picture of the hallway. That is not the way to overcome swipe right. You put that front picture on there because you don't have a choice, but the next picture should be the $25,000 or $40,000 kitchen, or the $25,000 or $50,000 bathroom, or the pool, or the waterfront. Absolutely, if it's waterfront, the second picture should be waterfront. When you see those listings where the waterfront picture is the 28th picture, you just got to know that there's some poor seller that did not get a realtor that understood swipe right. And maybe that should be a whole discussion. Swipe right, why your home is not selling. Positioning mistakes. We have a question from the audience. Mr. Jenkins?
Well, no, I was just going to say that I've been a realtor 10 years and I've done 375 plus transactions. This concept that you were talking about before about the public remarks being
the
tailored
search
engine words is truly insightful. No one is talking about that. But and one of the words you didn't use was no CDD, non-flood zone, X or X500. Those are very important. No HOA. Those are so important. And that's what people want. When you do a search on realtor.com or Zillow, you can't do a search for only X flood zone or X500. Can't do that search. You have to put it in the public remarks.
Yes. When I was putting together this strategy for my content, I was calling them Zillow keywords, but they're not Zillow keywords. They're MLS keywords that are not on Zillow. And maybe that should be its whole content. MLS keywords that are not on Zillow. Because if you're a lot of what I do has to do with training agents to be more effective in building their businesses. And how do you distinguish yourself from any other realtor? And talking about MLS keywords that are not on Zillow is not in anybody's training. It's not being talked about. It's not an issue that comes up in my history of realtoring. So when you're a realtor and you're looking at, ultimately because realtoring is about competing. Why should anyone do business with me? In fact, if you're competing for a listing, you want to ask them, or if they say to you, well, we're interviewing 3 more realtors, your response has to be, that's great. Can I give you the question that you should be asking them? And that question should be, what do you do different than other realtors? And now I can give you my 11 things that I do that are different, including what we covered last week, lighted signs and the MLS keywords. But the point is that if you are a realtor and you're watching my content for the purpose of building your business and you are competing with other agents, you must tell the listing prospect, let me tell you what you must ask them, because you already have your answer. You're already prepared. But the seller doesn't know what to ask. Right? Pricing based on seller's expectation. The market does not care what the seller needs. Agents often price based on seller's desired net, the neighbor's opinion, emotional attachment, instead of current competition, active inventory, pending sales, and buyer demand. Overpricing usually creates less leverage, not more. And generally what sellers will say, well, I want to price some room in there so that they can, make an offer and I can still get what I want. And logically, certainly that can be argued that it makes sense, but ultimately, how do you get the most amount of money for your home in the least amount of time? It's by having multiple buyers. And if you have your property overpriced for the purpose of being able to go down, as opposed to a strategy of saying, I want to price it so that I can have 3 or 4 buyers come in and bid it up. And I see it all the time. We should do a whole show on properties that were priced with the idea of getting multiple offers. All right, moving down the list. I know you want to say something. Too bad. No competition, no competitive positioning. Most listings sound identical. Every listing should ask you, why should a buyer choose this home instead of the 5 competing homes nearby? And examples are largest lot, newest roof, best school district, lowest HOA, pool plus conservation view, fully renovated. If you don't define the advantage, buyers won't. Eric, I know you're dying to jump in here. Let's let you jump in and then we'll continue on.
Well, I just wanted to really ask you a question. Didn't you recently have a property that was on the market over 400 days where you had multiple offers?
Yeah, don't rub it in. I had 2 properties that were 430 days on the market that sold, and I had a property with 450 days that ended up selling $10,000 over with multiple offers.
How is that possible?
How is that possible? I think there's a thing in the universe. It's the market, the universe hates a void, and offers beget offers. And when I got that first offer, it wasn't perfect. And then I got another offer, and I told them, well, I have another offer. Nobody believes you when you say you're 450 days on the market and you have multiple offers. But if you look at it on MLS, you'll see I raised the price $10,000 for that transaction. All right, conversion mistakes, weak showing experience. Buyers notice odors, pets, darkness, clutter, personal items, deferred maintenance. Many homes lose buyers before negotiations even begin. Ignoring showing feedback. And this is another whole topic of challenge because some of us do not give feedback. There's no benefit to giving feedback if you represent a buyer. But if multiple buyers say the same thing, it's probably an idea that you should adjust the property so that you don't get that negative feedback. Waiting too long to adjust the price, no marketing narrative, the most expensive listing mistake. Anyway, let's move on. There's just too much content and too little time. We're at 5:31. Let me ask my engineer, do you need me to take a break or are we good?
Oh, we're good.
We're good. All right, let's go to number 7, Zillow. Zillow is not your friend.
No.
Zillow is a marketing company that sells leads to realtors. I've been a Zillow Premier agent for 100 years. Not really. I paid Zillow a lot of money over the years. I don't pay them anything right now, though, because Zillow is weird because Zillow sells leads to realtors. Zillow's not in business for the public. The public uses Zillow. Zillow's in business to sell leads to realtors. And here's the thing. The more incorrect the information is on Zillow, the more calls that they get. Story? No story? I had a zip code for Zillow. It was in Hudson, and there was a property in that zip code that had last been listed as a vacant lot, $32,000. Well, they built a $300,000 house on that lot, and I got dozens and dozens of calls from buyers that wanted to buy that $32,000 Zillow listing. And, shoot the messenger, I got shot a lot. And I ended up calling Zillow and saying, take me off that zip code. I had to get rid of that zip code because I couldn't handle the calls because people were bitter. They think that because it's on the internet, it must be true. But the truth is there's no truth. I don't want to say anything negative. The truth is that sometimes information is incorrect. And when it's incorrect, you get a lot of calls.
Too good to be true.
All right, short-term rentals. This is a real challenge. And if you have a bunch of short-term rentals, you should mute this next part because you don't want to know. So short-term rentals are legal, but there's some negatives with short-term rentals that kind of might make them not doable. I'm going to use Pasco County because I am Mr. Pasco. Pasco County has something like 5,000 VRBOs. And in Pasco County, according to the land use ordinance, you're only allowed to rent your home out 3 times a year for less than 30 days. Think about it. If you're doing short-term rentals, they're not illegal, but you're only allowed to do it 3 times a year. So you can't say short-term rentals are illegal. But here's the thing. If you're doing short-term rentals in Florida, you have to collect motel tax and you have to collect sales tax, even if you aren't collecting any that month. It's a real big deal. And when I get calls from buyers that want to buy this and use it as a VRBO, my response is, okay, I'm not the realtor for you because I'm not going to advise you I'm going to tell you what you don't want to hear. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you can't go out and do it. I know people that have been doing it for years and years and years. The challenge is they are just not legal if you do it more than 3 times a year. And you've got to collect sales tax and you've got to collect motel tax. And you have to file monthly, even if you don't collect any tax. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I was going to say that people think they can get away with it, but what happens is if you rent it out for, say, 2 or 3 days and people come in and it's a great place, what are they going to do when they come in?
Have a party.
They're going to have a party. And are they going to be real quiet and let your kids do homework next door? You're going to upset the neighbor. And eventually the neighbor is going to turn you in because of them trying to have sanity in their life. So you will not get away with it. They will catch you.
You say that, but I'm telling you, there are people who have been doing short-term rentals in Pasco County for years and years and years. I wish I didn't know this. Condominiums, number 9. Condominiums are scary. When you say condo, I say villa. When you say condo, I say townhouse. I've been trying to write a rap song about it. Good, you say condo, I say villa. You say condo, I say townhouse. I know you're dancing and you're really cute, but the truth is that we're not on the video on YouTube. We're just sound.
Okay.
All right, condo boards, condo rules or restraints, deed restrictions, condo commandos. You know about condo commandos?
I don't.
Some of the board members they have no, I don't want to say they have no life. They have a very deep desire to get in other people's business, and they start calling and writing and emailing and raising Cain because so-and-so parked their car overnight when they weren't allowed to. Somebody put their boat in the driveway. Condos are no good. They're pricing on the HOA lien, the condo association fees, the insurances. Now it's a criminal if the condo association doesn't maintain the reserves and you're on the condo board. That's why condo prices, HOA numbers went up so dramatically. All right, let's talk about when you have a home for sale, it's a new listing, and you start getting all those investor offers. If you're not familiar with this, if you list a property, let's say it's a regular, 322 block home, $350,000, you're going to get offers from a whole bunch of investors. They're going to be low. You may get a lot of them. And in homeowners, retail sales, they don't like being insulted. So, Eric, I know you don't do this, but I do. And that is my listings in writing say realtor to withhold lowball offers. Now, maybe that's a bad strategy because if everyone's offering $250 and they're asking $375, maybe they'll lower the price quicker. Tell us how you handle it.
Well, I have a lot of clients, and I tell them that prior to listing, more than likely you're going to get 0 to 4 offers that are ridiculously low, and I recommend that we don't counter them. And then later, when we have a realtor with a human buyer, when they ask, have you had any offers, whatever the truth is, 0 to 4, we tell them. And then they ask, well, what did the seller do? The seller didn't counter. Oh, and it just elevates the seller to looking good. And it helps get better offers, I believe.
How to talk to the realtor always asks for the pre-approval. And for me, the pre-approval is an absolute, but it's not necessary. I mean, everybody wants to know, oh, I can buy a $400,000 house. I have a pre-approval for $400,000. But I'm not looking for that pre-approval just to see what the buying power is. I want to know if they're FHA. Oh, my internet is unstable.
I'm okay. I hear you good.
Okay. So when you're talking to a realtor, realtors are a little vulnerable right now. I mean, I'm thinking about getting a bumper sticker that says hug a realtor.
It's cute.
Any of my coaching students out there that are listening, it's okay. Maybe you should have got a real job. Realtors are vulnerable because of the realtor's lawsuit. Buyer's agents are vulnerable because they may not be going the way the independent travel agent has gone, and commission paid stockbroker. They're gone. And it may very well be that realtors end up being gone someday.
Now, AI, in my opinion, AI will not take brokers away, but brokers that use AI will take brokers away.
Don't use AI.
Correct.
All right, how to shop for the home. If you're watching Zillow and you're watching the actives to shop for a home, you are not shopping for a home. You are looking at the overpriced dreams of sellers trying to get the most money for a home. If you see a home become on the market and then later you don't see it again and you're not watching it go pending and you're not watching it go sold, you are not watching the market. If you're shopping and you're one of my people, I want to send you the actives, pendings, and the solds. And I want to have a discussion with you on what I want you to watch. I want you to watch the days on market when it goes pending. And I want you to watch the actual sold price when it sells. So you can take any criteria, 322 block homes with a pool below $450,000. It's a finite number. It's 27 houses or 35 houses. What's going to happen is you're going to say, oh, look, honey, there's a new one. It's on Fantasy Street. Look at this house. Oh, my gosh, it has everything we want. It's priced too high. And then you say, oh, hey, that house went down in price 2 months later. Oh, 2 months later, it went down again. Oh, 2 months later, it went down again. Finally, it went pending. The only thing you really can get out of there is what the price it went pending at. And you can research and find out the original list price. And then when it's sold, you can look at the actual sold price. And watching the market is not watching the actives. Watching the market is watching the pendings and the solds. All right, number 12, auction properties are not sold with clean title. Lots and lots of auction properties are sold with bad title. It's okay to buy these if you know what you're doing and you understand what the liens are. But too many times I've seen people make mistakes. They buy an auction property. They think they're going to make all this money. They end up going out there. Honey, I bought a home. We're going to make 200 grand. I only paid 75,000 for it. And let's go out to dinner. I'm buying you a Mercedes. And then later on, they found out not only did they not make that 200 grand, they're going to lose their whole investment in the original purchase. And I've watched people buy multiple properties over 3 or 6 months before they found out that they bought bad stuff. So if you're not an expert, if you don't have a mentor, do not buy auction properties. And if you have so much money that you can buy bad things, call me. I'll help you buy good things. All right, number 13, flood zones expand. Flood zones are created by FEMA, and they change the map. Flood zones are scary. Mobile homes have their own set of issues: tie downs, vapor barriers, polybutylene, shorter lifespans, resale challenges, zoning and regulations, tornadoes. We could do a whole show on mobile homes. Vacant land. Vacant land has the challenge: paved road versus unpaved roads, paving lanes, survey and fencing, zoning and use, utilities and infrastructure, environmental factors, permits and regulations, market trends and future developments. I worked for a very strong realtor, a broker, Greg Armstrong, and I had a buyer that wanted to buy some acreage, and this was, 15 years ago, and I was like, I got a guy that wants to put a subdivision, and we got this acreage, and he's really interested. And he looked on the map and he goes, there's no utilities. There's no water. There's no sewage. This isn't even in part of the 10-year plan. And my response was, there's a 10-year plan? Mm-hmm. That's how you learn things, by having mentors that are really strong that can help you understand. It's not just asking the questions, it's asking the right questions. All right, here's one. Never accept the first offer. I see you nodding.
Well, I've heard that before, and I've also heard that your first offer is your best offer. And the reason that may be true because you accept it and you never get another offer. So that's
what makes it your best offer, because it's the one you took. We talked about lurkers.
Yeah.
It could very well be that there's somebody out there looking for what you have. And if you've priced it right, when you bring it out, it may very well be that there are people out there that have been waiting and looking and lurking and hoping to find that product that you have today. But one of the reasons that I say never accept the first offer is because they're going to think they offer too much. You don't want your buyer to have buyer's remorse. So let's say you're willing to accept the price. What could you counter? Go ahead, Eric.
A little bit higher, and then say maybe you'll throw in a home warranty at the seller's expense. and use the extra money to cover it.
Or
Help me.
change the terms of one of the issues. For example, Eric, my seller will sell it at this price, but they want a shorter inspection period, or they want to change the closing date.
Oh,
So you can counter something that's not
money.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I would counter money.
Counter money.
Because I'm a seller on a lot of my deals. I actually am selling properties that we've invested in. And to me, I don't care about the other issues. I care about the money. All right. When selling, consider giving your realtor permission to tell buyers about other offers. Now, a lot of realtors will call that a violation of confidentiality. You can't tell me that. Some of these older realtors, and I don't mean older in age, but been around forever. And then I tell them, well, they turned down 280. And then they get all excited. How can you tell me that when you have confidentiality? You can't tell me that.
Sure you
But that's
can.
not true.
If you have
I have
permission.
I have it in my listings that I'm allowed, not that I must, but I am allowed to tell them about other offers. I mean, let's face it. If you get, let's say in my $350,000 house, if you get a 310 offer and they turn down 325, and you say, well, they turned down 325. Well, they may come back at 326 because you told them that. This idea that we can't help coach the other side of the transaction, to me, is ridiculous. All you have to do is have permission. There's also something called a round robin auction, which can be a challenging effort if you're not an auctioneer, but ultimately, ultimately, I mean, you don't have to say it's a round robin auction, but you got a buyer at 326, and you go back to another buyer and you say, hey, I got a 326. You want to advance it? 327. I got a 327. You go back to the first offer. And in this market, it's not like those kinds of scenarios are happening much, but in other markets, it's been pretty easy to get the buyers to bump it up. You can buy a home with bad title. I probably should just skip this, but if you have someone with bad title, if you have a house that has bad title, call me, because I will buy a home with bad title. But it's only because I've done so many deals where I went and I fixed the bad title. So don't you go do it. But if you have a property you know has got bad title, you feel free to reach out to me. Randal Jenkins, 727-409-4663. It's 409-HOME. And you can reach me at rj409home@gmail.com. All right, if you own a home and have a collection against you, it can attach to your home. When you search your property, you will not see the lien. You actually have to search yourself to see if there's any judgments or collections. And when you sell, the title company will certainly search the property for utility liens and contractor liens, but they're also going to search you to see if you have any judgments or collections. And if you buy a property, the mortgage company will have the title company search you to make sure there's no outstanding liens or judgments against you, because they will immediately attach to the home. And if you buy a home with cash or owner financing, you better know if you are clean. As the buyer, you need to know that you are clean, because the way that liens work, if you have a credit card lien from 10 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever the statute of limitations is, and it's on the public record, and you put a property in your name, that lien will attach to that property.
Wow.
All right, the title policy is due 5 days before closing. We played this game last week. And then when I was driving, I called Eric and I said, hey, it's 5 days, because I remembered, not in the context of remembering the having the memory of the correct answer, but in the context of having an issue where we needed an extension and the seller didn't want to give us one. So in the contract, if you haven't gotten the title work at least 5 days before closing, then you can guarantee to get an extension if they haven't given you the title policy. All right, title policies are out of the, stay in your lane, realtors stay in your lane. Title policies are not something that realtors have expertise in. Realtors cannot give you advice. Realtors cannot tell you what does this mean? You have to ask the title company. And then the other thing is there's exceptions in title reports. And they'll say, oh yeah, I'm giving you title insurance, but there might be an exception that is not fully explained. And you think that you got good title, but there's an exception that allows the underwriter to avoid liability associated with that exception. And you must respond in writing to the seller to object to the title concerns. All right, realtor lawsuit. The Department of Justice and the National Association of Realtor lawsuit proves that buyers who put a big buyer's agent's commissions on a home get more action. It didn't come out right, but ultimately the lawyers sued the realtors lost. It was proven that realtors showed homes that had larger commissions. Realtors directed buyers to those homes with the highest commission. Homes with the highest commission often sold quicker. And the Department of Justice determined that was steering, and the realtors lost $1 billion lawsuit over this. And one of the things that happened was that now we have to provide a buyer's broker agreement with the buyer to the realtor for a realtor to show homes. A lot of buyers don't want to sign this because the buyer's broker agreement says that if the seller doesn't pay the commission, the buyer has to pay the commission. And we could spend an endless amount of time talking about that. All right, home inspections is an opportunity to get a price reduction, repairs, or concessions. Inspectors will find issues. If they can't find something, then the home inspector will break something so they can put it on the report.
Story.
There was screwdriver holes in the baseboards, and it was on the report. And we're pretty certain the home inspector was jabbing the baseboards to make sure there was no bad wood. But anyway, home inspections are a great opportunity to get out of a contract, and you really, really, really want to have a home inspection done, even if you're buying it as is. And you want to have a home inspection contingency. A non-response is a response. You want to talk about that?
No, but it's good.
No. So sometimes in the art of negotiation, you just don't respond. And it pisses off buyers. They have to respond. And the answer is no, they don't have to respond. Yeah. The commission agreement is between the seller
and the listing agent.
And the listing agent, exactly. And nowhere in there does it say that the buyer gets a response. That's a good idea. If nothing else, received. But a non-response is a response. One thing, if you're in negotiations with multiple buyers and somebody sends you a lowball offer, and you don't want to deal with that offer because you know it's some investor insulting your client, so you just ignore it. And that is a response. Mm-hmm. All right, there's 72 ways to sell a home. Google it. Jeez. Actually, there's probably more than 72 ways, but a lot of them are redundant and are not relevant. But now with ChatGPT, you could say, show me 1,000 ways to sell my house, and it'll find something to put. For sale versus on sale versus price to sell. Number 25. 25% of the homes on the market are priced 30% too high. These homes are for sale. homes that are going to go pending in 7 days, 7 to 10 days, they're priced to sell. Homes that went pending 1 to 3 days, well, they're really priced to sell. The question is, do you want to sell your home or do you want to list your home? All right, mortgage broker approval number 26, our final stop in our 26 episodes of 26 tips. You can watch a 38-minute video on my YouTube channel called Randal Jenkins Real Estate on YouTube. And you can type in 27 real estate tips and 28 real estate tips, and you can get a preview of what next week's show and the following week's show are going to be. But anyway, number 26 is mortgage broker pre-approval is not final. Sometimes mortgage brokers have been known to throw stuff at the wall and hope some of it sticks. This is just the initial stage of the mortgage process. It's like a conditional offer for financing. It's non-binding. It's helpful when you're shopping, but it's not a done deal. We did it. We covered 26 real estate tips in 43 minutes. Actually, we have another minute or so to go. If you'd like, Eric, you can do an advertisement for your services.
Hi, I'm Eric Jenkins, Realtor, Keller Williams. My direct line anytime. If you have an easy transaction, it's not difficult. If you're with another realtor and you have no videos on your home, if you can't reach your realtor, if they've retired and didn't let you know, if you want to list it for the first time, you want to have a real chance of getting a buyer, you call me, Eric Jenkins, 727-409-3484. I look forward to competing for your valued real estate business. My clients are at the top of my priority.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I'm Randy Jenkins. This is the Randal Jenkins Real Estate Hour. Thank you for listening, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day.
WTAN, Clearwater,
FM 106.1,
WDCF, Dade City,
FM 102.3.
Listen.
It could happen over the weekend. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump on talks with Iran, saying they're going well, but he also said
that's a very volatile part of the world, probably the most volatile part of the world. The people are volatile. The leadership, you see what's going on. We've gone through 3 teams of leadership.
And the president said the U.S. will get Iran's enriched uranium at some time in the not-too-distant future. This is the House, for the first time, has passed an Iran war powers resolution with 4 Republicans joining Democrats. It next goes to the Senate. Secretary of State Marco Rubio back on Capitol Hill for a second day of hearings, telling lawmakers he hopes Israel